Hey everybody, this is my 55-gallon gourami tank, and I recently did some work, a lot of work in here, cleaning up some black-beard algae. I started by blacking out the tank for 3 days, and then when I turned the lights back on, I did a massive water change. I actually did several water changes on it, and I changed out the filter. I put a new filter on it. Not that the old filter was contributing to the algae necessarily, but it was just an old filter. It was worn out. I was having issues with it. And by putting a new filter on there with all clean, open plumbing on the inside, I've got much more vigorous water flow. So the more highly oxygenated water and the more vigorous water flow will certainly help reduce the reoccurrence of any of the blackbeard algae. But the filter being changed really wasn't part of the treatment per se. It was just kind of something I did while I was in there doing the treatment. But to blacken the tank out and then getting in there and physically removing a lot of it and scraping the glass down and doing a water change and basically just vacuuming out as much of the floating detritus as I could. And it made a huge difference. I was really surprised at what blacking the tank out did. I, for years, have had people tell me, "Oh, just black the tank out for 3 days, and that'll solve your problem." I always thought that if you black the tank out long enough to kill the algae, then you're going to have to black it out long enough to kill all the plants in the tank, and that's apparently not true. I was really surprised by how effective it was. You can see some of the stuff on the back glass that I missed when I was scraping it, and that is clearly dead. It's not green and flowing. It doesn't, that doesn't look like the hair algae that was in there before. It's just dead. The rocks are a beautiful example. This rock here, this flat one, was not scrubbed at all, and you can kind of see the black stuff on it. That's dead algae. These two rocks, if you saw my previous videos, these two rocks were absolutely covered in the blackbeard algae. And when I did the water change, I got one of my bottle brushes in there and just gave it a good, it's a plastic bristle brush, fairly stiff bristles on it, and I gave it a good scrub, and all that dead stuff just came right off of it. You can see on my Java fern, you can see the fuzzy stuff, but it's no longer dark, it's no longer gray. It's no longer green, it's got that gray sort of look to it. You can see a couple of patches of that really dark green cyanobacteria looking stuff. Not sure what that is, but it's still in there. So obviously did not remove everything from the tank. I didn't completely eradicate the stuff, but I am stunned at what simply blackened the tank out for 3 days, because that's all I did. I cut back on the feeding just a little bit while the tank was dark. I think I even skipped the feeding one day. But I still fed the tank, and I didn't black it out in the pitch black sense. I didn't hang a blanket over it or anything like that. So ambient light from the room was getting in there. I could stand here and see the plants in the tank, and I could see the fish swimming around. So small amounts of light were getting in there, and I don't know how much light I was hoping he would come out. I've been waiting about 20 minutes to start shooting this video because he's been hiding behind that tree stump back there, and I wanted him to come out and swim around because he's absolutely gorgeous. And so, yay, he finally has. Lost my train of thought there. I don't remember what I was saying. But I did black the tank out for 3 days, and that was it. I cut back on the feeding, I skipped a day, and that was about it. And I've got these kinds of results. I've got just amazing reduction in algae. I can't believe it. I tested the nitrates in this tank after I had finished my big, water change, fill it up, water change, fill it up cycle. And I was all the way down below 5 parts per million. And that was 2 days ago. I know I just posted the video yesterday, but I had actually done the video the day before. It just wasn't until late at night, and by the time it actually got, uploaded and everything, it was too late to publish. So that got published yesterday. But it's been 2 days now since I've finished up the work on the tank, or at least finished up my round one, I'll call it. And the nitrates were down at like 5 parts per million. I just did another test, and they are still sitting right down where, we're basically getting some color change in the vial, but that's it. We're not getting any real darkening of the color at all. It's just this sort of pale yellowy, tan color. Again, we're getting some color change, and that's about it. So we're down into the single digits, below 5 parts per million on the nitrates, and I'm really, really happy. Again, I never imagined blacking the tank out for a few days would have such a huge impact. So live and learn, that's a new one on me. Again, for years I've had people recommend doing that, and I've always dismissed it as, how can you kill algae off simply by darkening your tank for a few days? And I did it, and I'm stunned at the results. And it almost, the results were so successful, I'm almost wondering why everybody makes such a big deal out of Blackbeard algae. If that's how easy it was, if I literally just didn't turn the light on for 3 days, and when I turned it back on, it was just a matter of doing some cleanup, but it's all dead and out of the tank and gone. That's not a big deal. I was expecting, to struggle with this stuff and beat it back and fight it back. Now, having said that, I can't say that a week from now I'm not going to be shooting another video explaining about I can't believe how fast this stuff grew back and it's taken over the tank again and I've got to start from scratch. And, that's a possibility. But from what I'm seeing, I don't think that's going to be the problem. I don't think that's going to be the case. And I'll tell you, if I see it start to come back at all, I'm immediately just going to black the tank out for 3 days again. If I took that jungle that was in there before and I was able to just kill it off to the way I killed it off in 3 days, then certainly if I'm getting small amounts of growth, I can just get on top of them by blacking it out for a few days again. But for now, I want the plants that are in the tank to really have a good chance to soak up some light and sort of replenish their batteries, so to speak, put some energy back in their root systems or their rhizomes or their bulbs, accordingly, depending on what kind of plant we're looking at here. Once that's the case, once we've got that established and the plants have sort of reinvigorated, I might black it out again just to sort of finish off anything that's in there. The tank almost looks too sterile for me at the moment, but that's okay because it'll grow back. I don't mind algae in the tank, and I don't even mind the Blackbeard algae, to be honest. It was just overrunning the tank, and that was too much. It was just, the tank looked nasty. It looked like it was just a shaggy, overgrown, it just looked awful. So it looks a whole lot better now, even with all of the remains of the stuff in here that I was unable to get out. You can just see how it's all just dead all over my Java fern in there. So I'm really, really happy with this. I cannot believe the results that I'm seeing just from simply blacking the tank out. That's no treatment, no nothing. I've got Excel. Back in my early days, I always heard that, dosing or overdosing with Excel would do it. And I never, I tinkered around with it, but I never saw any results. I'm not... I'm not, I can't think of what the word I'm looking for is. I lose track of stuff way too easily, and I can never be certain whether I dosed it today or did I not dose it today. And I know I could always write it down or make a note, but then I wonder, did I forget to make the note or forget to write it down, because I'll do that. And before you know it, I don't know whether I've dosed it or overdosed it or underdosed it. And that's why I don't bother with those kinds of things. I don't bother with foods and ferts and dosing things. And, if I've got to do medication, I'll do medication, but I don't do stuff that's, long-term, steady, you've got to do it on a regular basis over long periods of time kind of thing. I'm just too forgetful and too lackadaisical. It never gets done properly. So I've got a gallon jug of Excel in the other room, and I never use it. It's just been sitting on the shelf. It's a full jug. I've used maybe a tablespoon out of it. Well, maybe more than that, but I basically have a big old jug of Excel. And so I used to mess around with doing stuff like that. I used to mess around with, treating the tanks with hydrogen peroxide. And I'm just absolutely stunned that just turning the lights out for 3 days and then turning them back on, and boom, this is what we're looking at. It's just amazing to me. So the next thing I want to do with this tank is I want to get some more gouramis in here. This is my gourami tank. It used to have a lot of gouramis in it, and they were big, full, three-spot variants. So you couldn't miss them when you looked in the tank. You saw gouramis. Now you got to hunt them down, and there's only 2 little gouramis. One's a chocolate, and one is a female honey gourami, and she's so pale and washed out most of the time you can barely see her. My little female guppy's got more color than she does. So I think I want to add some more chocolate gouramis if I do a little research and find out that they can be housed together without much issue. And I think they can. I don't think I'll have any problem having 3 or 4 little chocolate gouramis swimming around this tank. So that would be cool if I can find them. I'd like to get another male honey gourami in this tank because he was absolutely beautiful before he died. So if I can get another male in here and get all those bright, beautiful colors shining, that would be nice. But I also think we need something to sort of fill in the gaps in here. I do have all of these little guppies swimming around. They were females that sort of needed a home and kind of wound up in here. I've got one lonely little neon left who's evaded being eaten all this time. I don't know how his brethren and sistren have been eaten long ago, but he's still in here. So I'm thinking a school of something, you know. I'm not going to do skirt tetras again because I've got skirt tetras in, you know, multiple tanks, but something like that. You know, something in that sort of size and behavior range. You know, it's got to be something that's not going to be a fin nipper, you know, because of my angelfish and the gouramis in here. So I'm not going to do like the red minors in this tank or anything. But I would like to do something that's going to be a nice little schooling fish that's going to add some flavor and some color to the tank without actually adding some food for my striped Raphael. And every time I try to put neons in here, and believe me, I've tried to put neons in this tank a lot of times, neons just sleep down at the bottom. They sleep near the substrate. They sleep at the bottom of the tank. And if you've got a catfish in the tank, you're gonna, one by one, you're gonna see your neon population getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's gone. Again, how this one neon is still in there, I don't know. He must be an oddball that likes to sleep up in the bushes or something. But I'm not adding any more neons, and if I ever do get the opportunity to get that one out of here, I might pull it out and throw it in a tank that's got some other neons in it, just so it's got some company. But whatever, it ain't killing it being in there by itself. So there you go. There's a look at what's going on in my gourami tank now that I feel like it's fit to be looked at again. It was just getting gross before, but it's starting to look pretty again. Again, we are going to do some more work. As much filth that was still in the tank yesterday, I'm going to have to kind of look at this first run on the filter as giving it a few days and get a lot of that junk out, and then we'll get the filter cleaned up and, you know, do another water change on the tank and really get it nice and clean. Might even add some new plants in there. It's looking a little sparse. Could probably use a little bit more greenery. So we'll see. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss any of it. You never know what it's going to be with me. And then don't forget, of course, this one here is my gourami tank. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I will see you real soon in the next one.